As Jeff said, my name is Michael A. Weiss, and I've been through shit. Call me crazy, but listening to all the really distinguished speakers before me, being that I'm the head of the McDonald's new rollout program for the three-burger quarter pounder and the new Big Mac launch, this could be the wrong conference to speak at, but I'll give it a shot. My name is Michael A. Weiss, and I'm a Crohn's disease advocate. I'm a character, as you can probably tell by now. I also started the Crohn's Disease Warrior Patrol, which I'll tell you more about, and my Twitter address is @hospitalpatient. Now, what this whole presentation is about is I'm going to try to teach you all how to use healthcare social media to manage chronic illness so that you can become an empowered patient like Angelina Jolie. Now, I use Angelina Jolie as an example because lately in the news, she's done a wonderful job of becoming educated in a very graceful manner and being very proactive in taking charge of her health. So I'm going to walk you through how to become an empowered patient using Crohn's disease as an example. Now, let's say you leave here and you have that dreaded appointment with your gastroenterologist. You have pain in your stomach for a month, you have all those nasty symptoms that we all get. You sit down with your doctor, long story short, you have Crohn's disease. It's chronic, it's an autoimmune disease, it's incurable. You're devastated. I mean, what do? You leave there, you don't know what to do. Well, the empowered patient has a strategy. They start off broad, they make technology work for them, they diversify, they subscribe, they engage and interact, and then they learn how to support patients and how to get support. I'm going to show you how to do that now. In terms of starting broad, start at Wikipedia. I purposely made the entry illegible because you can't rely upon Wikipedia. There's so many untruths in Wikipedia, but it's a great starting point. Start there. That's the definition of starting broad. Next, usually your disease has a national foundation, like the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. Just go on the website, find out what it's about, where you could learn more, where you could meet people, where they hang out, etc. So while you're starting off broad, you're really starting to diversify. Now, while it's a methodical approach, diversification is always applicable. Next, technology. How to get technology to work for you. There are things called Yahoo groups or Google groups where you put a word in or a phrase like Crohn's disease. And then there are people who start groups of conversations. They ask questions. Has anyone been on this medication? What's your experience with this doctor or that hospital? And if you subscribe, by the end of the day, technology will bring you back all the emails that were discussed in that particular session. You could do that with a Yahoo group, you could do that with a Google group, and there are many different sort of subgroups within the groups, whether it's Crohn's disease with an ileostomy bag or a colonoscopy bag, etc. Now, you could also use technology to just do Google keyword searches. This would be, you go Google keyword searches, put in Crohn's disease, and then at the end of the day, Google will bring back to you via email every article that appeared on the internet that had Crohn's disease in it. A lot of famous people do this with their names, by the way, to see what articles have been written about them. It's sort of a little trick of the trade. Now, the next thing is diversify. You need to diversify because you got to minimize the anomalies. A lot of people who talk online, they could be a little wacky, but there's a lot of people who are very honest. So when you diversify, you better your chances of getting accurate information. WebMD, Mayo Clinic, great places to go. But what happens if you go to WebMD and you put in Crohn's disease and it says, oh, the drugs could give you leukemia? What? That's why you need to diversify, because you can't rely upon any one source. So in terms of diversification, there's crowdsource funding. This is a project I'm doing, Crohn's Disease Warrior Patrol. It's a peer-to-peer patient support group. I'm matching experienced patients with newer patients to provide them with support through the internet via their zip codes. It's just phone support or Skype support, but it's a new project. So diversify the old with the new and the current. Always be aware of what's going on, because Crohn's disease is incurable, but people are working towards a cure. So therefore, you need to know what's going on with new projects. This particular crowdsource funding site, medstarter.com, is one of the places where you're going to see projects that are changing healthcare. In diversification, now subscribe. And again, it's all diversification. But subscribe. I have my blog, hospitalpatient.com. I talk about how to manage life with a chronic illness. I use humor to sort of deflect the difficulties of the disease, and also YouTube. That's a video answer series I have to questions that would be of interest to people with Crohn's, colitis, IBD, etc. But you could subscribe so that at the end of the day or whenever there's a new entry, you get an email saying, hey, there's a new entry on that blog that you subscribe to. So already at this point, you're learning so much about your disease, maybe even more than what your doctor knows about, at least what's out there, not from a scientific standpoint. Now, I put this up there because you could also subscribe on YouTube to videos that are really vlogs. They're video blogs. I have one where I do a healthcare interview with people who are changing healthcare. So that's another way to learn about how your disease fits within the whole realm of healthcare. Next, LinkedIn. It's traditionally thought of as a business tool, but there are LinkedIn groups that you could subscribe to. Crohn's disease, IBD, patient empowerment, patient engagement, insurance, pharma, and there people ask questions, answer questions that are pertinent to what you want to know. Again, you're diversifying what you know, how you know it, and you're becoming an expert at your disease, very much like Angelina Jolie, who took radical steps and used genetics to improve her future life. Now, engage and interact. Twitter. Twitter is word of mouth on steroids. If it's in your head and you put it out on Twitter, it's word of mouth on steroids. I show TweetDeck. This is a program that I use and many use to manage Twitter. You could keep track of all your conversations. But you could go on Twitter and say, has anyone been on the drug Humira for Crohn's disease? And you'll get back answers instantaneously. It's incredible. Now, if you use a hashtag before the word Humira, then that particular question that you ask is going to appear every time the word Humira is used all over the world. It is an amazingly powerful tool, and that's why Twitter is so popular. There are also something called tweet chats. That's where people on Twitter who have similar interests will have a closed conversation, sometimes end of life. There's a schedule, like Sunday night from 9:30 to 10:30 is end of life. Tuesdays from 3 to 4 is Crohn's disease, and you'll find the schedule online if you search. That is the schedule, but you could search for it. Next, in Engage and Interact, you have Facebook groups, very much like LinkedIn groups. Facebook groups like IBD Journeys. There are Facebook groups called Crohn's Disease Sucks. There are Facebook groups called Crohn's Disease Warrior Patrol. It's not as instantaneous as Twitter, but it's just as helpful. And the more you engage in these interactions, the more accurate the information is, and the better equipped you are at managing your disease. Now, I also put Google Plus here. This is very important. Google Plus is becoming an invaluable tool. They have events. This is a picture of an event that I participate in the third Thursday night of every month. It's an IBD roundtable where they have like 6 expert panelists, and I'm one of them. Now, you can't participate in it, but you could watch it and listen to it. And the beauty of Google Plus is that after the event, they call that an event, after it's over, the whole video session turns into a YouTube video, because Google owns YouTube. So therefore, you have the video, and then there are Google Hangouts. You could find your friends and say, hey, let's go on Google Plus. And 6 to 8 or 10 people, they keep expanding it, can, by video, communicate with all over the world. You can have 8 people from 8 different countries talking about, the issues that you want to talk about pertaining to Crohn's disease. And next, support. There's in-person support, Crohn's Disease Warrior Patrol. This is a picture of a little kid. His name is Damon. Very, very sick. I was contacted through various social media platforms saying he had an ileostomy and a colonoscopy. He was very, very uneasy with having to have all these tubes in him, and he's such a cute 9-year-old kid. So I put together a group of people. I don't have an ileostomy, thank God, but one of them does. And they made him feel so comfortable, like, hey, look, I had it. I was on the swim team in high school, and she's this pretty girl, and his face just lit up. So that's in person. Virtually, you have virtual patient communities. On the left is Chronology.com, in my opinion, the best virtual community. They have meetups, they answer questions. It's a closed community. It's just Crohn's patients. You could ask the most personal question there. And then you have Crohn's Forum, which is the more traditional sort of digest kind of format. And really, in summing up everything, if you follow all of this in investigating your disease, whether it be Crohn's disease, diabetes, cancer, whatever, you will be an empowered patient. That's Damien wearing a Crohn's Disease Warrior Patrol shirt, thanking us for what we did for him. And that picture has gotten me a lot of attention with this project, Crohn's Disease Warrior Patrol, which I'm starting to launch. So I'm very thankful to Damien, and I'm proud of the fact that he's smiling, and we helped him get that smile. So that's it. It's Michael A. Weiss. Hospitalpatient.com is my blog. Twitter is @hospitalpatient. Any questions? Thank you.